to the next. It's kind of been our attitude here the last few days, and obviously an exciting time earlier in the week with Michigan State win. Was going back looking at film, our most consistent defensive effort by far in terms of consistent ball pressure, finishing defensive assignments by rebounding. I thought we did a great job of that. And then offensively, we were really solid. The first 30 minutes of the game had a little lull. Part of that was attributed to Michigan State. They were good, but all in all, good win, exciting win. I think we'll look back at some point, maybe the end of the year or a few years down the road, and see how defining a moment or defining a win that was. The fans, the Orange Crush, that was awesome. That building got as loud as I've heard it by far, and we're appreciative of that, and hope they all show up as we face a much improved and very, very good Rutgers team.
Brad, going back to the team that lost to Florida Atlantic and even maybe struggled at the beginning of this calendar year to where you are now, what do you see as the difference?
It's just natural. When you have as many new faces, when you have as many freshmen, there's can't help but be growth, and yet it's harder to achieve growth than most people think. But it speaks to the character of our guys. It speaks to the camaraderie in the locker room. That's allowed that to happen. I think the strength of our schedule was very, very challenging, but I think with that came an inner confidence that we're not afraid of anybody, and yet it's there's still a long way to go. I mean, we're not close to the end game yet, but it's I think it's just a natural progression, and yet it's not easy to get there because we did lose some games. And the games we had leads in and lost in the second half, but it's just a natural progression, and you got to give everybody in that locker room a lot of credit for their continued work and their continued desire to want to be successful.
Coach, Io just told us that he's been taking someone from the team out and having a meal with them every week and kind of getting to know them on a deeper level. What does that say about him, and how did your guys' lunch go?
Well, I'll never tell you how ours went, but we'll keep that between us. But I think it's not just unique. It's pretty special when you get a young guy and that isn't just thinking about himself. It's more about his teammates. So it's more about how can he help them, and it's more about his coaches, and it's more about the one thing he was mad that when they invited me to lunch, we went to lunch. He was mad because he wanted to buy a lunch, and that's pretty special. That same day, I get a text from Georgie in the middle of the day, just asking how my day was going. And when you get young guys that are so selfless and not selfish, you've got a chance. But yeah, that's something that Io's come up with on his own, and it's a brilliant idea.
Coach, what challenges have you seen from this Rutgers team, and have you avoided letdown?
Well, this is everything that we're trying to be about, is everyday guys. And, that game Michigan State was one of 20 regular season conference Big Ten games. Now, it was a great win. There's no doubt. Now it's about the next one, and we put that one to bed pretty quick as a staff. We definitely got our guys' attention. And you're talking about one of the top rebounding teams in the Big Ten. You're talking about a team that, Geo Baker, Alamuri, having phenomenal years. The addition of Shaq Carter has given them a tremendous presence inside. They're a team that adds a grad transfer who's a really, really good shooter. So this is a very, very balanced team. They're a tough team. They have a physicality that kind of mucks the game up a little bit. And, you've got to, there's a reason they're winning games, and that's, they're well coached, and it's a good basketball team.
To go back to Io for a second, I'm sure you knew him pretty well when he signed here and committed here. How has that changed, or what were your expectations for when he got here, and how have they changed since he got here?
Well, you always try to temper your expectations, just simply because you know the process of being a freshman. And then the other part of that is they truly have never dealt with any adversity. High school kids that deal with nothing. They may have a coach who gets on them, but they're still the best player, and they're still, very comfortable in their skin because they know exactly who's around them and what's going on. Until you get somebody who's out of that comfort zone and has to deal with adversity, you don't know. And that's what I've been so pleased with Io and Georgie is we've been able to coach those guys really, really hard. We've been able to demand more from them, and they handle that in a way that is very mature and very beyond their years. And so that's been one of the pleasant things. And I've said this many times about Io. He's an unbelievable listener. And you find an 18-year-old today who's a great listener, and you've got something pretty special.
Coach, a lot of late leads have slipped away down the stretch. What was it about that game against Michigan State? Was there maybe a moment that you thought you guys were going to be able to get over the hump? And did that moment change maybe when you went back and watched the tape, or was there just one?
No, I think it's lessons learned. You have to pay a price. And I say this all the time. Basketball. You can't cheat the game of basketball. Basketball is always a game that wins out, the game itself. And that sounds cliche or whatever, but you have to pay the price, and you have to learn to do the things and be detailed and execute. I thought we learned, I said it in the timeout, this is our moment, this is our time, and we're ready. And we've been through enough of the other stuff. And it was that way, whether it was, not too long ago, the Northwestern game or whatever. It's just a matter of having the confidence and knowing you've got guys there that are prepared and they've handled those situations and they don't fear them anymore.
Brad, I know you don't pick a player of the game, but I almost wondered if you did, if it was Andres Feliz. What has been the value of what he's been doing the last few games?
Yeah, did you hear Cassius Winston's comments? Yeah, you ask Cassius Winston what he thought of Andres Feliz defensively. You guys only look at the points and all that, and that's the last thing I look at. I couldn't tell you what one guy on our team is averaging. Andres Feliz has been really good for a lot. And absolutely, his play, Io's pass to him, shot clock winding down, defensively, when you get one of the best point guards in America saying the things he said about him, and then our other guys. And we're establishing an identity on the ball that's really good. And Dre's a big part of that. He's shooting the ball with confidence. He's a guy that has a toughness. He goes against Trent. I pit him almost every day in practice against Trent and Io on purpose, because I know he's going to make them better. And yet I'm really feeling comfortable with those three guys in the lineup together because his growth. He's not a junior college player playing against 6'6" post guys anymore. He's had to grow and mature and understand where to pick his points. But yeah, he's been off the chart, and his defensive prowess is becoming something that I've got a lot of confidence, as well as what he does offensively.
On the flip side, it seemed like Michigan State was able to make a lot of quick baskets after makes. by Illinois. Was that a Michigan State issue, or is that an area of concern?
Have you watched them for the last 25 years? I mean, that's what they do. The 2 runs the right wing, the 3 runs the left, and the big runs right down the middle, extremely fast, and Cassius does an unbelievable job of throwing it up. And one of the things that we felt like was a little bit of give and take with them. We felt like we could hurt them on the offensive glass, and we did. But when you don't get those, sometimes they're gonna have a little bit of a numbers advantage. And they're one of the best transition teams in all the country. And we knew they were gonna get a few, but it's still an area we can work on. That's them as much as us.
Brett, have you been able to kind of reflect on the importance of watching that lead go away and trailing and then coming back and winning against that team, and just from a growth standpoint and where this team is now versus maybe a month and a half or 2 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a natural process. I thought we got some pretty good looks, during that stretch. The one thing I like about our spread is even though you don't score every trip, there's still a mental grind of having to guard it and having to snap your head on back cuts and prepare for it, and there's a mental fatigue that goes with that, along with then having to go to the other end and face our defense. And I felt really good about it. I thought we got some good shots. We missed a couple. Io hit DeMonte and what would have been a great layup and catch, and we just kind of fumbled a couple. Those little things we got to clean up, but all in all, I felt pretty good about it, and I like the fact that you got a guy like Io who's not afraid to take those shots and miss them, and that's you got to be willing to accept that burden if you do, and he made them. So.
Coach, Rutgers is, this year having more success than they've really had in conference play to date. What do you think that says about their program and what they're building there?
Well, Steve's doing a great job. He's doing an unbelievable job. He's a terrific coach. They're tough-minded. They play hard. They keep adding pieces, and and no different than we are. I mean, it's about growth in your culture and what you stand for, and to see the Omiuri kid, to see Gio as a sophomore. They've got a couple of freshmen in their lineup that play major roles for them. They're building, and that's he's was it year 3 or 4, and they're continuing to build this. So they're a very much improved team. They're always tough, and they're always going to guard.
I think it was maybe after the Iowa loss where you said you made the team to drag from the poison of success a little bit. Maybe again, following the Maryland game, just having those experiences, does it make it less likely it happens again after another big one?
We'll see. I didn't think we were that way after the I thought the Minnesota game we were there. That was us. We had a 5-point lead late in the second half, and I didn't think it was where we were too involved in that. I think now it's about just understanding who we are, and let's continue to build defensively with our mentality and our effort. We're getting more comfortable and more guys playing better off the bench. That's exciting. But yeah, I mean it's they've had a lot of people telling them a lot of good things here the last few days. I've been wanting to contrast that a little bit.
You had Tevian and Kipper playing together the other night. How does that combination help Tevian's game?
Well, based on matchups, Ted doesn't have to deal with the physicality sometimes of the opponent's power forward spot, and Michigan State, that was Goings, who's big, strong, physical, 23-year-old senior. So Kipper matches up with that a little better, and Ted's very capable of playing out on the perimeter. He spends a lot of time in practice there as well. So, but most of that's matchup based.
He's building his game, both make him seem like a classic wing
Yeah,
rather than a guy
and he is. And I mean, he's at some point he's going to be that that consummate multi-positional perimeter guy who can probably guard 2, 3, 4, and play that way on the offensive end as well.
I assume for recruiting purposes, you would say they're playing a positionless or pitching a positionless style because of that ability. And
Yeah,
the next level is
absolutely.
helpful.
And that's why having, you know, you like a 6'7" guy that's got length and he'll get stronger in the weight room and all that plays into him being able to do multiple things for us.
Can you talk about, was there any grade out that you were able to get from Samba's 49 seconds?
Not much, no. Didn't hurt us.
Coach, you mentioned the crowd on Tuesday. You've had some good crowds dating back to even last year, but how important is it when you're building a program to make this a really tough place to play again?
There's a lot of reasons it's really important, and that's one of them. And you know, I've said, I think I told Derek this. You know, this the other night reminded me of my time when I was at Western, and you watched Illinois basketball, and it was electric. You know, it was that every night, and you know, that's one reason. There's no doubt it helps us, and I keep saying that I'd love to play every game here. I mean, it's a huge advantage, and our fans are the best, and they come out and support it. The Orange Crush is awesome. It's why we try to bring recruits in. It's our best asset. Our fans are our best asset. That building full is our best asset, and so it serves a lot of purposes to have the support and the backing of so many, and you know, we're truly blessed.
How hard do you feel like you guys are to guard right now, the way you're playing, and especially with Io and Trent both scoring the ball right now?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that you know, when we get the fourth score to go with Georgie, you know, I think Adonis has been a guy that gives us good minutes in that post spot as well. And then I think there's still room for Allen. You know, but Tev, Kip, AJ, you know, we've got to get that guy consistent, or at least get one of them making some shots for us, and they're all doing a lot of the other things. But yeah, offensively we're starting to gel a little bit. We're starting to be able to put some wrinkles in based on, you know, opponents and how they guard things, and we're getting a little more comfortable with each other, and that's been very helpful.
And for Andres to knock down that corner 3 on Tuesday, was that maybe a good thing to see? I mean, he shot really well, you know, last year
Yeah.
in JUCO, but just to maybe see him get a little confidence going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, a lot of people have not respected how well he does shoot it, and you know, we see that every day in practice. And you know, I'm not one to discourage taking open shots, because I know he's a capable maker, not just a shooter. And you know, people want to give him that. There's usually a price to pay. He is confident. He practices a lot. He shoots a lot of balls. So I've got a lot of confidence in him. Thank you.